So we're here at Mugu Lagoon, right on the edge of the Pacific Coast Highway and Naval Base Ventura County. And what we're looking at is this fantastic area where the terrestrial is meeting the ocean, where the land is meeting the sea. And everything we see here, all in front of us, all this greenness, is the intertidal, is the area between the highest high tides we see of the year and the lowest low tides we see of the year. Mostly what we're seeing here is vegetation. Mostly we're seeing flowering plants, and the green is obviously all the chlorophyll. But estuaries are fantastically productive places, not just for plants, but for all kinds of critters, shrimp, birds, etc. In this area in California, we've lost a tremendous amount of the wetlands that used to be here, particularly in the coastal plain, particularly in places like Southern California. We were not like most of the rest of the country, which would be the southern part of the southern coast of the U.S., the east coast of the U.S., the coast of Alaska. Those are all relatively flat, relatively plainer types of coast. Our coast, if we look up right here, if we turn around and look, as all these cars are driving by, we see what? The Santa Monica Mountains. We have very much so in California, on average, an up-down coastline. We have a very geologically young area. And so what that means is the areas, we look back over here at Mugu Lagoon, the area for coastal wetlands is much smaller than we would have, say, in the Carolinas, in Florida, in Louisiana, something like that. Rather than going, for miles and miles and miles and miles, we were more like a pearl necklace along the coast with little chunks of a wetland here and then nothing, and then a little chunk of wetland there and then nothing. So we didn't really have these, with the exception of some places like San Francisco Bay, San Diego Bay, a few places, we didn't have these huge, massive areas. That's actually a benefit and a problem. That's a helpful thing and a hurtful thing. Because we didn't have these massive chunks of wetlands, it means that as we're going about restoring things, we don't have to restore a gazillion million acres. But it also means now the challenge we have before us when we're trying to restore this area, make this area more healthy, is the fact that we don't have a whole lot of models. If we're on the East Coast, we'd have hundreds of square miles of relatively intact wetland. Here we have very few models. So what is a reference condition? Great question. What is our target we're shooting for? Great question. How do we know if this wetland is functioning well? How do we know if that wetland is functioning poorly? Much harder when we have a distributed amount and relatively small amount of wetlands in relatively scattered pockets. So that's the condition we have here. Mugu Lagoon, relatively speaking, is our big regional wetland. This is our daddy of Southern California wetlands, or one of them. So for this reason, a lot of different researchers from around California come here and use this as a reference site. Not only do we have the year-round water flow from Cayugas Creek, which is coming down right here, we see this right here, we also have relatively a few landward obstructions for at least this arm, which we call the eastern arm. In the main area, the central basin of Mugu Lagoon, we start to get into some of this problems inland, terrestrial, with ag and things of that nature. And then as we go farther over to the western arm, it's a lot more ag, a lot more development. That's where the airfield is and all that kind of stuff. So we have even within this one site, we have a range of relatively intact, sort of screwed up, significantly screwed up. Mugu Lagoon, Mugu Estuary, really important site, not just for endangered species and rare things, but for common critters as well. So a really important site as we start our conversation about what is a healthy wetland, what is a wetland in Southern California, what is a coastal wetland in Southern California, Mugu Lagoon.